before I get started, man, I got 2 announcements. Next year, I got a surprise for y'all. I would just say that it got something to do with me and a group of other people. That's all I'm gonna say on that. Second, every Wednesday, starting after this video, every Wednesday from now on out, 10 o'clock or 11, between 9 to 11 at night, y'all gonna have a video, and it's gonna go live, like, you know what I'm saying, like a TV show or some shit, like, you know, it's gonna go live. So that could be any kind of video from Mr. Ball and Mr. Nightmare, that chapter, anybody that tells stories or what's your name, and if it be Pacific days, I do music videos too, because some of these music videos, you fucking my payroll. Yeah, we got Mr. Nightmare, man. Disturbing cases of real killer sinners. I ain't never heard no Santa clown on no damn, no Santa killer, but let's see what you talking about.
Oh, to tell you about the disturbing stories of a couple of them. Just a heads up, this video may not be holly jolly, and there are some darker themes. Joseph and Alice Ortega loved Christmas. It was their favorite time of year to spend with their family. Their 2 oldest sons, James and Charles, and their daughters Letitia, Alicia, and Sylvia. On Christmas Eve of 2008, the Ortega family invited all 5 of their adult children and their families to their home in Covina, California, the middle to upper middle class, low crime community about 20 miles east of Los Angeles. The family was in the middle of a Christmas Eve poker game when the doorbell rang, and what unfolded next was unimaginable. Shortly after the doorbell sounded, police received 911 calls from the Ortega's neighbor. The caller cried into the phone that someone was burning down the Ortega's house. That someone was Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, dressed in a Santa Claus suit. The fire department was dispatched to the Ortega house, but the calls kept coming in. Some even reported that they heard shooting coming from the house, and when the police arrived at the scene, it was a total nightmare. The only surviving Ortega family members police could locate was Letitia, her husband, and their 8-year-old daughter, who managed to escape the house and make it to a neighbor's house.
Damn. God damn. I ain't never heard of this. Now I want operator. Y'all be pissing me off asking me dumbass questions. For real.
What do you think his name is? Bruce? Okay, and who is he to you guys? Who is he to you? He was my ex-brother-in-law. He's going through this right now. Okay. Hold on 1 second, okay? I don't know who else is alive. I know, ma'am. Just stay on the phone with me, okay? I know. It's okay, the officers are there. They're trying to get to you guys, okay?
25 people? Yeah, y'all know my hair too, man. I just took my shit out. 25 people?
Letitia's daughter, however, had been shot, so the family had already made their way to the hospital. What happened was Sylvia Ortega Pardo, Bruce Pardo's soon-to-be ex-wife, had finalized their divorce the week prior to the attack. This apparently caused Bruce to snap in the worst way imaginable, and this was his way of getting revenge.
Class A CDL drivers, wait, don't skip this ad. You need to hear us out. My name is Maddie from J.M. Bozeman.
Bruce had arrived at the Ortega home in a Santa costume with a gift-wrapped package containing a rolling air compressor converted to deliver gasoline from it, and at least 4 9mm semi-automatic handguns. His 8-year-old niece Katrina, the daughter of Letitia, ran to answer the door in excitement to be greeted with the Santa, only to be shot in the face. Luckily, she survived. Bruce then started firing indiscriminately at fleeing partygoers. After he ran out of bullets, Bruce pulled out his homemade flamethrower to spray 18 gallons of gasoline into the house, causing it to burn down. In the middle of investigating the aftermath of this chaotic scene, police received a tip from a neighbor. She and her husband had seen a car leaving the cul-de-sac at around 11:45 p.m. Police started searching the Ortega's scorched home. They found bodies burned beyond recognition, which were
Damn.
later identified as missing Ortega family members. A total of 9 people were murdered. While police were busy investigating this massacre, they received a call from Bruce's brother, Brad Pardo, who returned home from a Christmas party to find his brother laying dead in a pool of blood. Bruce had taken his own life. On Christmas Day, police interviewed Letitia, who said that despite the Santa Claus costume, beard, and hat, she could identify the shooter to be her sister's ex-husband, Bruce Pardo. Investigators then went back to Brad's house, where Bruce was found dead, and searched his car, which ended up being the same car the Ortega's neighbors had described seeing on their street after the murders. Inside the vehicle, police found a Santa suit and thousands of rounds of ammunition.
Damn.
The car had also been booby-trapped to explode once the Santa suit was removed, and though the vehicle exploded, no one was injured. The autopsy of Bruce revealed third-degree burns on his hands and arms, and part of the Santa suit had melted onto his body. Police also found $17,000 in cash cling-wrapped on his legs inside a girdle. Police believed he didn't initially plan to kill himself. Around the same time, a man reported a suspicious car parked in front of his Pasadena home. Police ran the plates and found the car had been rented by Bruce. Though the car wasn't rigged, it was packed with supplies including a computer, clothes, water, food, and maps of the U.S. and Mexico.
You motherfucker was planning this whole thing out. He planning on running.
Police believe Bruce had been planning on escaping to Mexico after his killing spree, and this was his getaway vehicle. The vehicle was also parked about 500 feet from the house of Scott Nord, Sylvia's divorce attorney. This was definitely not a coincidence, and Bruce was likely planning on also murdering Scott, because in June of that year, Bruce was ordered to pay $1,800 a month in spousal support. The divorce clearly took over Bruce's life, and he began to plot ways to get back at Sylvia, and instead of just killing her, he decided that he was going to destroy everything and everyone that she loved. The most likely explanation for Bruce's suicide would be his unexpected injuries. He didn't realize there was an open flame somewhere in the house, likely a candle, and when he was spraying gasoline, this led to an explosion that left him horrifically burned. Instead of driving to kill Sylvia's attorney and then escaping to Mexico like he most likely originally planned, Bruce instead went to his brother's, where he killed himself because of how badly he was burned. Katrina Yusupolsky is alive and well today, and fortunately, she hasn't let the horrific experience overtake her, and she's currently living her life to the fullest.
Yo, what's up, man?
But unfortunately, Bruce Pardo was not the only story of a killer Santa named Bruce. Bruce MacArthur was known as an outwardly jovial man who was the perfect Santa due to his ample white hair and beard, and so that's what he did as his second job. He was a Santa at Toronto's Agincourt Mall until as recently as 2016. Bruce was at the time 68 years old, and when he wasn't working as a mall Santa, he was working as a successful landscaper, trusted by his many clients to turn their yards into lush gardens. The sick thing is, Bruce's jolly personality he conveyed was just a front. The parents happily watching their kids on his knee, and his clients admiring their new lawns had no idea what Bruce actually was. A necrophile and a serial killer.
A big mechanism at Amazon is collecting the voice of your customer. Earn trust of others.
Little did one of his clients know, he was turning their lush new garden into a graveyard. Between September 2010 and June 2017, Bruce murdered at least 8 men.
Damn.
His targets were usually vulnerable, having been poor, lonely, or new immigrants. All of Bruce's victims had arrived to what they thought was a safe country to explore their sexuality. Bruce's seemingly welcoming and friendly nature led his victims to thinking he was a friend and to trusting him. Then he would kill them. Bruce was described by colleagues and co-workers.
I don't want to trust everybody. Y'all can't trust everybody, man. For real. Y'all cannot trust everybody. I won't stress that enough to
To
y'all.
be a great guy who always had a smile on his face. For 30 years, he was seemingly happily married to his wife Janice, who he had 2 children with and lived in a house in Oshawa with, a middle-class town very close to downtown Toronto. In the late 90s, however, Bruce came out of the closet, probably to the shock of his wife, and not long after suggesting that the two have an open relationship, he left his family and moved to Toronto.
Damn.
But he remained on speaking terms with his family. Bruce became a regular in gay neighborhoods and wanted to be part of the LGBT community. But pretty soon that community didn't want him to be a part of it, as he quickly earned himself a reputation of being trouble. In 2000...
But just by that long, bro had to do something terrible for them not to even want you in their community. Damn, what the fuck did he do? God damn, they ain't even want to sell neighborhoods
and wanted to be part of the LGBT community. But pretty soon that community didn't want him to be a part of it, as he quickly earned himself a reputation of being trouble. In 2003, when in his late 50s, Bruce received his first criminal conviction for the assault of a man with an iron pipe in the man's home 2 years prior. Bruce turned himself into the police, and throughout the case, he maintained that he blacked out before the assault and didn't know why he did it. In January of 2003, Bruce pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault causing bodily harm and assault with a weapon. But thanks to his lawyers, Bruce didn't serve prison time. Rather, he was ordered to attend counseling for anger management and provide a DNA sample to police. A few months later, Bruce had his record suspended, so nobody would ever know that he'd been arrested at all. Bruce's landscaping business was busy enough to occasionally hire casuals, until one of those hires disappeared, Mahid Kayhan. Bruce admitted to police to knowing Mahid. He told police that Mahid had worked for him doing landscaping for a month, and the two men had a sexual relationship that Bruce claimed he broke off. Bruce was not a suspect at the time of the interview. He was treated as a witness in the missing persons cases. Bruce's approach to murder was usually the same, strangulation using a rope and metal bar. When his victims were dead, he'd pose their bodies and photograph them, sometimes in his apartment and sometimes in his red Dodge Caravan. One victim was posed wearing a fur coat and with a cigar in his mouth. Some had their beards and heads shaved, others had their eyes closed. Then he would take close-up photos of their genitalia. Bruce stored these dead body photo shoots in digital files on his computer. He then dismembered his victims, distributing their body parts in one client's garden, putting to use his knowledge and skill in gardening.
I ain't know.
In June of 2000...
These stories that he telling, bro, I have never heard these stories before. I swear.
16. Bruce ended up in a police station after a guy he was having sexual relations with reported him for almost choking him to death while they were in the back of his van. The man managed to escape and report Bruce to the police. And for the second time, Bruce turned himself into the police.
Trying to look innocent and shit. Turning yourself in.
The man who reported Bruce claimed they were hooking up in the back of his van when Bruce started choking him violently. The man claims he barely managed to escape. But when Bruce was being questioned by police, he played it off that he was asked by the man to choke him, that he liked it rough.
Sure. And right now, you're under arrest. You're placed under arrest this evening for the offense of assault, okay? You've been brought here to 232 Division for the purposes of being investigated for that offense, okay? So, an allegation has been made against you, and this officer in just a moment is going to let you know exactly what that allegation is, okay?
So the allegations are that around 6:30 p.m. this evening, you met up with a gentleman by the name of at the intersection of Bathurst and Finch. During the course of your involvement with him, there was an allegation made of an assault, which in choking was the allegation made, and that's basically why you're under arrest today for that assault.
Okay. So, sir, if you would like to provide us with your account of what occurred earlier this evening.
Well, and that we talked about going for dinner, and he said he needed to take a shower, so I said I'd meet him at the Tim Hortons at Finch and Bathurst. And so he arrived, and we were going to have sex, and he suggested do it in the back of his truck since it hadn't been used yet. So it was a brand new truck. I said, oh, there's more room in the back of my van. So we went to my van. So then I thought, okay, he likes it rough. So I put my hand to his throat, and just for a few seconds, because before that he's very strong, he just completely turned around and grabbed me by the throat. He said, now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to you. and he had me by the throat to the point that I couldn't breathe. So I put my hand like in the air, like surrender, because I couldn't talk. And that's when he finally let go. And then he jumped out of the car and said, I don't want to see you again.
Has anything like this ever happened before where things got out of hand?
No, not that quickly, or not just like that.
Things have never gotten violent? No. Okay.
I just thought he liked it rough.
The police believed Bruce's story and the case was dropped. On June 26, 2017, Andrew Kinsman disappeared, and this was the start of Bruce's downfall. Andrew was different from Bruce's other victims. Andrew was well known and liked among Toronto's church and
All health insurance is not the same. At Aetna CVS Health, we're built differently. Our individual
community, and he was the caretaker of his apartment building in Cabbagetown. His disappearance following Toronto's Gay Pride Parade was quickly noticed, and within days, posters of his face were seen all over town. Andrew had become the latest addition to the disturbing disappearances of gay men that had been plaguing the community for years. Andrew's friends and colleagues knew he was interested in true crime and serial killers. A colleague noted that he had an occasional hookup with a man very into the psychology of serial killers and how they functioned. When police searched Andrew's apartment, they found computer files on the serial killer and necrophile Dennis Nilsen, otherwise known as the Kindly Killer. Dennis Nilsen's methods of murder were eerily similar to those of Bruce. They also found a documentary on U.S. serial killer John Wayne Gacy and 10 pictures of Bruce taken on September 11, 2010, using Andrew's camera. The name Bruce was also scribbled on Andrew's calendar, eerily coincidentally for the day he disappeared. It's possible Andrew suspected Bruce was a killer and was doing his own investigation. Police discovered CCTV footage showing Andrew getting into Bruce's red 2004 Dodge Caravan. They finally had a suspect. In September of 2017, while Bruce was under surveillance, police took a coffee cup he discarded in the trash to obtain a sample of his DNA. 2 months later, Bruce dumped his caravan at a scrapyard, which was seized by the police and forensically examined.
That's how police get y'all, though, man. Like, they give you something to drink where they investigate and then test y'all shit. For the motherfucker, you know what I'm saying, that's in their life, you know what I'm saying, and don't know that shit. But when they ask you something to drink, and they give you something to drink in the investigation room, what Pussy always said, don't get inside no investigation room and set the food. Facts. But no, don't go in that bitch setting the food, because they gonna sample that shit. And that thing, you know, you got caught up with some shit you ain't, you
They found blood and semen connecting multiple victims to Bruce, including Andrew Kinsman and another victim, Salim Essen. This evidence allowed police to obtain a warrant to enter Bruce's home covertly without him being there. Forensic experts discovered photographs of Andrew and Salim on his computer, taken after both men were dead. The timing of this discovery was impeccable, because Bruce was likely about to commit another murder. The next day, police witnessed a younger man arrive at Bruce's apartment building in Toronto. The man was likely to be Bruce's next victim. They raided Bruce's apartment, finding the man who entered his apartment naked and handcuffed to the bed with a black bag over his head. None of this was done with his consent, and he was screaming for help.
Oh, wait. Yes, fuck, I did hear this one before. I did. I'm lying. See, the first story I heard before, but the first story I haven't heard, but the second story I have, until I just seen that picture. I remember that picture now that I think about it. It's a show on Netflix. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Catching Serial Killers or something like that. I think it's called Catching Serial Killers. And they said they were trying to see who it was and shit before they got the next victim, or they were trying to get it on, like, pin it on dude before he got his next victim. And they got to him at the same time, and he had a dude when they walked in. Dude was tied up and all that shit. I remember that.
Forensic experts discovered photographs of Andrew and Salim on his computer, taken after both men were dead. The timing of this discovery was impeccable, because Bruce was likely about to commit another murder. The next day, police witnessed a younger man arrive at Bruce's apartment building in Toronto. The man was likely to be Bruce's next victim. They raided Bruce's apartment, finding the man who entered his apartment naked and handcuffed to the bed with a black bag over his head. None of this was done with his consent, and he was screaming for help. Bruce was arrested and charged with the murders of Andrew and Salim. A deeper search of his apartment revealed files on each of his 8 victims and souvenirs from each of his crimes. They included ropes and a metal bar used in the strangulations, jewelry from multiple victims, and a notebook from Celine. They also found a file he'd already prepared for the man they'd saved, confirming that he was close to having the same fate as the other 8 known victims. Police checked 75 properties that Bruce had worked on, and at one client's property in Leaside, they found body parts from the 8 victims in large planter boxes and an adjacent ravine. Karen Fraser, the homeowner, was shocked and stated that Bruce was the best friend, neighbor, relative anyone could want, a similar description many others used for him in the past. But one major question still stands. Were there only 8 victims? Bruce entered a guilty plea early in court proceedings, but showed no sign of remorse. He was given a life sentence on each murder charge. Between 1975 and 1978, 14 men from Toronto's gay community were murdered. The method of killings varied, including beating, strangulation, and stabbing. Police solved around half of the cases, but the rest remained cold cases. It seemed likely that Bruce was somehow linked to these other murders. For a seemingly jolly mall Santa to be capable of such atrocities makes you realize you never really know what kind of person somebody actually can be behind closed doors.
Damn. Like I said, I remember that one. But once again, Mr. Nightmare did again. Like I said earlier in the video, man, on Wednesdays, man, we're gonna start doing live videos. It don't matter what it is. That being said, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, see y'all motherfuckers on that video. Let's ride, nigga.